Some children don't really have a childhood. They have responsibilities. They learn how to read a room before they learn how to read a book. They know when mom is upset, when dad is angry, when money is tight, when an argument is about to start. And somehow they learn one dangerous lesson very early. I have to be okay because nobody else is going to be. Maybe that was you. You were the mature kid, the easy kid, the one adults could trust. You didn't ask for much. You didn't cause problems. You figured things out yourself. And people loved telling you how mature you were for your age. But nobody stopped to ask a different question. Why did you have to become mature so early? Think about a child sitting quietly in their bedroom while their parents argue downstairs. They aren't playing anymore. They're listening. Not because they're curious, because they're calculating. Is this getting worse? Should I stay upstairs? Should I check on mom? Should I take my little brother somewhere else? The child may never say any of this out loud, but their brain is learning something. Pay attention, because paying attention keeps you safe. And this is where growing up too fast can become complicated. You might become incredibly good at handling things. You can stay calm when everyone else is panicking. You know what needs to be done. You rarely ask for help. You become the person everyone calls when something goes wrong. And people say, wow, you're so independent. It sounds like a compliment. And maybe it is. But sometimes independence isn't something a child chooses. Sometimes it's something a child develops because depending on people doesn't feel reliable. And that's a very different kind of independence because now you're an adult. The house is quiet. Nobody is fighting. Nobody needs you. You finally have a free evening. And instead of feeling relaxed, you feel uncomfortable. So you find something to do. Clean the kitchen, answer messages, work late, help someone else, solve a problem that wasn't even yours. Why? Because somewhere along the way, your brain connected being useful with being safe. And if you're not useful, what are you supposed to be? This is one reason some adults who grew up too fast struggle with rest. They don't simply dislike doing nothing. They feel guilty about it. They can spend an entire day taking care of everyone else and still feel like they haven't done enough. But there's an even stranger contradiction. You might be incredibly good at understanding other people's emotions while having trouble identifying your own. You notice when someone's texting differently. You hear the tiny change in their voice. You can tell when someone is annoyed before they say anything. You know when the energy in a room has changed. But ask yourself, what do I need right now? And suddenly, nothing. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you don't even know because you spent years studying everyone else's emotional weather. You never learned how to check your own. And this is where psychology gives us an important clue. When children regularly experience unpredictable emotions, conflict, or adult responsibilities, they can become highly attentive to the people around them. Their environment becomes something they constantly monitor. Not consciously. Their brain simply learns, if I notice problems early, maybe I can prevent them. That skill can become incredibly useful, but useful doesn't always mean healthy, because the same child who became excellent at preventing problems may grow into an adult who creates problems to solve, not intentionally, but because calm feels unfamiliar. Think about that. If chaos was normal when you were young, peace can feel strangely empty. You might say you want a peaceful life, but when everything becomes quiet, your mind starts searching. What's wrong? What did I miss? Who is upset? What needs fixing? Nothing. There is no emergency, but your nervous system hasn't received the message yet. And here's the part people often misunderstand. Growing up too fast doesn't always look sad. Sometimes it looks impressive. It looks like the teenager who never asks for help, the college student who works, studies, and handles everything alone, the adult who always has a plan, the friend everyone comes to for advice, the person who says, don't worry, I've got it, even when they absolutely don't. That's why this can be so difficult to recognize. Because society rewards the child who doesn't need anything. Good grades, good behavior, responsibility, independence, self-control. We call it maturity. But sometimes what we're seeing is a child who learned to suppress their own needs because there wasn't enough room for them. And there is an important distinction here. Being mature is not the problem. The problem is believing you must always be mature. You should be able to have moments where you don't know, where you're confused, where someone else helps you, where you say, I can't handle this today, without feeling ashamed. Because needing people doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. And maybe this is the part you need to hear most. You don't have to earn love by being useful. You don't have to solve everyone's problems. You don't have to anticipate every mood. You don't have to be the strongest person in every room. You're allowed to rest before you're exhausted. You're allowed to say no before you're angry. You're allowed to ask for help before everything falls apart. And you're allowed to have needs, real ones, messy ones, childish ones. The younger version of you may have learned how to survive by becoming the responsible one, but you're not living in that house anymore. You don't have to keep following rules that were created for a life you're no longer living. So the next time you catch yourself saying, it's fine, I'll handle it, pause. Ask yourself something different. Do I actually want to handle this? Or did I simply learn that I have to? That question can change a lot because healing isn't always becoming stronger. Sometimes it's finally realizing that you've been strong for long enough. And maybe the child who grew up too fast doesn't need you to admire how much they survived. Maybe they need you to give them something they never had enough of: permission to rest, to need, to play, to be uncertain, to be cared for, to finally stop being the adult for everyone else. Because you were never supposed to spend your entire life proving that you could survive without anyone. You were supposed to live. And perhaps the most important part of growing up is realizing that you don't have to grow up all over again.